Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Okay, so today's video is going to be a little bit different, maybe to some extent along the lines of what we've done over the last couple of years, but it's going to be slightly random. But I have a feeling it's going to pull together in the end. So I want to say this in this way. Letting go is not necessarily letting go. It's more like letting the door open up. So it's allowing you to open up, to expand, to become more. And allowing others also to expand, to learn, to grow, and to become more. Embrace the light by opening up to the light, to receive the light. So I think it was about 9 months ago. I think it was last summer approximately. Okay, I know exactly when it was. It was actually Halloween, so it was kind of warm Halloween, and which is fairly normal for California. So it seemed like summer, but it was definitely Halloween. So I went over to my friend's house because normally it's kind of like the place where everyone kind of gathers around, and nobody was there. But next door, literally like right next door, the people had pulled out this huge screen, and they had this movie playing. In fact, they had a series of movies set up to play. And there was a big table with candy and popcorn and everything. And even food. They even had food that said, hey, just go inside the food. I'm like, I'm actually just visiting a guy next door. I don't know you guys. Like, no, come on in. It doesn't matter. We know Nixon. He's a friend. Come on in. You're a friend of his. You're a friend of ours. So it actually took a little while for them to convince me, because I felt like I was intruding. Like, no, because they had like way too much food, way too much everything. Like, no, actually we bought too much. It's just going to go to waste. So I actually sat down outside. There's probably, I think about 8 people outside, and inside probably 12 or 15 or something like that. And I was outside talking to people. We had a really good conversation, and they said, hey, go inside, get some food. I'm like, no, I feel kind of weird because I don't know anybody here. And it's kind of weird walking into someone's house, and the people that own it have never met me yet. So eventually the mother of the daughter who lived there, because the mother was visiting, she came out and they introduced me, and she's, oh, come on in, and you got to see her artwork. She has amazing, and I wish I would have took pictures of it. I didn't. You know how some people just have a knack, like they are an artist. It is like, and she just does it for fun on her own. And I'm telling you, this girl could sell her artwork in an art gallery in San Francisco or Sausalito. I mean, a top art gallery. This artwork was phenomenal. By the way, the music will go down in about 10 seconds. So I walked into the living room, the first entry, and there was about 7, 8, 9, 10 people there, and it was a really good mood. Everyone was talking, and somebody handed me a plate of food and stuff like that. We kind of talked, and then everyone said, hey, you got to go in the back room. I go into one of the bedrooms. Like, no, I don't think that's appropriate. Like, no, it's okay. So-and-so's back there. Mom's back there. Everyone's, blah, blah, blah. You got to go back there and see this girl's artwork. I'm like, oh, okay. Now, there's going to be a twist, and it's going to be kind of a very shocking, but in a very good way. I think there's 2 twists. So I walked in the back, and someone actually walked me back. I forget who it was. Actually, it was a guy that took care of this girl. He was her caretaker. Now, this girl was about 28 years old, maybe 31, something like that. And she was in a wheelchair. I was like, oh, okay, what's going on here? And so, because he told me, yeah, I'm her caretaker, and I live here with her, because she essentially, I don't want to say she can't do anything, because she can. And no, that's not me trying to be Mr. Positive. I'll explain. So all of her artwork was, how do I say this? It was one-sided, and here's what I mean. If she made sculptures. She made not just sculptures, but different colorful artwork and like little balls made of crystals and colorful pieces and stuff, right? Well, some of the main ones, she made paintings too, but the main ones were up kind of on the shelf or this table, whatever it was. And they are pictures of, say, symbolically of like a person's like face, right? And they were really beautiful, amazing. They were eye-catching. They were, what is it? They struck a chord. They really made you look at them and go, wow. And there's one thing I noticed about all of the artwork, and just as I was noticing it, or just after a couple of seconds, somebody said it. They said, have you noticed all of them are one side of the face or whatever she's drawing or whatever she's making? I was like, yeah, and it's all the same side too. So these were sculptures of like not of a yeah, it would be of a person's face, but just sometimes it would be like kind of like an archaic, like the way the Aztecans or the Mayans might have made it. But there was some just like literally work of someone's face, and it was funny because it was one side, and when you looked on the other side, it was kind of hollow when it went inside, and it was right down the middle, like right down the center of the nose, the forehead, etc. And right as I was wondering, like, I'm like, why does she do that with all of her artwork? And someone said, are you wondering why she's doing that with all her artwork? I kind of said, yeah. And they said, well, she was in a really bad accident. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And so they said what happened was she sheared her brain right down the middle, meaning the nerves, what's called the corpus callosum. Again, this is something that I teach and specialize in, and helping people to understand it. It's real simple. It's the bundle of nerves that connect the left side to the right side. Now, me being the empath that I am, and what I always try to do is I try to take on other people's world to understand them, and that I was going into this process while I was talking to her and the people. I'm like, wait, what do you mean? They're like, well, it sheared the nerves, essentially. There's a word, medical term, where basically I figured it, and the mom like drew her hand down, like, you know, like your flat hand, like a knife, said it sheared her brain in half, so she doesn't have a connection now. And apparently she was in one side of the brain. I think it was the right side. Yeah, it was the right side is what they were telling me. I'm like, oh, that's why she's really artistic. Well, she was artistic before this, but this absolutely altered and changed her artwork. So what she said, the young lady said to me, she said, you know, I can only see half of your face. I'm like, really? She goes, yeah, I can't see the other side. I was like, really? No, that got my attention. Okay, so I had a brain injury. Actually, I tore my brain in 3 different places. I was in a really bad car accident a little over 15 years ago. And now I am a genius. Okay, just being goofy, but actually I am a genius. I took not a test, but 3 times a state test. It's a long story. I put it in other videos, but I actually tested the genius IQ level every single test. So what my brain injury did was it really damaged the left side of my brain that organizes languaging and structure, because the left brain is about rules, structure, and organization. It literally organizes the words before they come out. So the thing is, I had the thought in my brain. I could understand people clearly. I could get the thoughts and ideas, but the words, they would come out pretty good, but sometimes words would be in the wrong order. And another thing I learned was I couldn't learn anything new, but I could do everything that I've already done. So luckily, that was kind of like my saving grace. I got back to work about the 2nd year, even though I wasn't supposed to. Like, they were like, do not go back to work. Do not. Like, you cannot put pressure on yourself right now. Well, I needed to make money, and I wanted to make money, and so I did. So luckily for me, because it was in muscle memory, it was built into my system, I didn't need to access that part of my brain or use that part of the brain. But the problem is, learning something new, I couldn't do it on my own. I had to have someone with me. I had to have someone show it to me over and over and over, and then I could learn it eventually and I could pick up. So that came back eventually, but it did take years to do that. Now, I give solely energy healing 100% credit for that, beyond a shadow of a doubt. As I've said in the past, I went to my doctor, I think it was the 9th month, or maybe it was about the 14th month, but it was definitely the 9th month or later. And I remember telling the doctor, because, hey, I've been in boxing and kickboxing. I played football. I've had concussions before, right? And I'm thinking, like, what? Like, why am I slurring my words? I mean, it's been 9 months. And I went to my doctor, like, hey, something's wrong. He goes, what are you talking about? And I said, hey, I'm slurring my words. Like, the words still aren't coming out right. Sometimes instead of, okay, I told my goddaughter one day, hey, I got to go see my God. And she goes, what? I got to go see my God. She goes, what are you talking about? And I'm like, and she goes, you mean your doctor? I'm like, yeah, isn't that what I said? She goes, no, you said God. And I noticed I would get window mixed up with the word door. So, hey, could you close the window? But I meant the door. So when I went and saw him, he just goes, no, I don't think you understand. You don't have a severe concussion. You have a severe brain injury. You tore your brain. And this is the first time I heard it. No one said this to me. He said, Michael, I don't think you understand. You don't have a concussion. You tore your brain in 3 different places. Now, one of the things you learn if you take a real NLP course, especially if you go into the Master Practitioner, they explain how the brain can rewire itself, and it'll go through different channels and different things, and you can do the same thing, right? It will take time for it to rewire itself, but with me, I don't believe that's what happened. What happened was, okay, so for example, the doctor flat out told me, he goes, Michael, you're never going to talk normal again. He goes, you're never going to be able to do the work you've done before. He goes, you're probably never going to be able to have a job. He goes, Michael, this is your life. And I remember at that moment saying, hell no. So my energy healer at the time had already been doing work on me, probably 1 or 2 sessions a month, maybe a little bit more. And beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is why I'm functioning. Like, my back is healed, my spine is healed, like everything they told me, like, you're never going to be able to run again, you're never going to be able to lift weights, you're never, like, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm running, sprinting, riding a bike from here to San Francisco. And here's the thing, you would never know that I had gotten ran over by a car 15 years ago if you'd seen me right now. In a million years, you wouldn't guess that. So they were telling me about her brain injury and the trauma and how she's permanently this way and this and that. And all I said, now watch this, is going to be, so the first twister was the fact that she did such amazing artwork, okay? With her brain was sheared, the word was sheared in half. It's called something shear, I forget the word. And here's another thing I want to share with you before I finish the story. So I don't know if that her mother brought this up, but I do remember people have, off my channel have brought this up when I mentioned my brain injury from years ago. There's a doctor, she's on TED Talks, My Stroke of Insight by Jill Bolte, B-O-L-T-E, Taylor. So Jill Bolte Taylor, TED Talk. And she talks about how she had a massive stroke, and it forced her to, now she's a scientist, not only a scientist, but she's a brain, I think she was a brain surgeon or brain research, whatever. Yeah, I think she researched brains and stuff like that. And you might want to watch that, okay? Because here's what she said. And when she said this, I went, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm going through. It forced her to do everything from her right brain. Now, for a woman, she was an extremely left-brained person. She was into science. I think she had her doctorate degree, and she was into research, just all left-brain stuff. I'm trying to cut to the chase. Sorry for not getting into the details. Now, the one thing I also found on that on YouTube about that series of videos on TED Talk. Now, there's another lady on there, another video on TED Talks. There's quite a few, actually, about brain injuries, which is kind of incredible. The title is How a Brain Injury Made Me Smarter. Her name is Ann Zuckerdy, Z-U-C-C-A-R-D-Y. Now, here's the really funny thing about severe brain injuries. Somehow, some way, and for some reason, it seems to make you smarter. Like, there's this one guy who literally became this absolute brilliant mathematical genius out of the blue after suffering a severe brain injury. That's a completely another story, but it was like beyond, like we're talking like Einstein level. Like, this guy just became a genius literally after he healed from this. So one thing I will tell you, remember the first time they taught this to us in Hawaii during an NLP training, is how the brain will rewire itself using different parts of the brain that do the same thing. And at the time I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, and they said, and how you can help them is do this metaphor, do this where streets are opening up and going down a road. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, that's going to work. But here's the thing, it does. And not only that, but the brain is soft tissue. Soft tissue heals faster and easier than anything. And this is one of the reasons why, at least in my experience, healing people of cancer using energy healing is really easy. It's like this one of the, like, oh, I got this. This is not a problem. For me, it's never been a problem. So I do believe somebody brought up that lady, the one who had a stroke, the research scientist, the brain researcher. And I remember telling about, like, what happened to you, and they gave me about 5-10 minutes, not 10 minutes, but 7 minutes to give them brief, like, here's what happened, it tore my brain, blah, blah, blah. And they said, well, you seem like you're doing very well. And then, now watch, here's the second twister. All right, let me share this first. Okay, so I'm going to bring up 2 injuries that happened to me that I was told, like, you will never recover. Like this, it's not possible. You're never going to recover. Not going to happen. Now, I had sang my whole life. In fact, I would sing in my room with my stereo, etc. And I was only 26 years old and I couldn't talk at all. Might have been a little younger, but about my mid-20s. And what happened was I got hit in the throat with an elbow in kickboxing practice. It was an illegal move. A sparring partner, I was beating him. He got frustrated and he done a spinning reverse elbow, which is not allowed in kickboxing or even Muay Thai. Like, not to the elbow. That's a completely illegal blow. And it broke my larynx in 3 different places. Now, I couldn't talk for 9 months. I mean, not even a little tiny bit, okay? So I went to a specialist about the 3rd or 4th month, and they did maybe not the 4th month, but on the 3rd month, they did an operation. They were trying to pop the bones back in place, but it didn't work. And so when I woke up, or maybe it was the next day, I forget how long it was, but the doctor just said, he goes, look, he goes, I am really sorry, but that didn't take. He goes, you're never going to, literally, he was like, you will never talk again. And he was going on and on about how we're going to take you to these classes and you're going to learn how to speak from your stomach or some weird thing. I think it's why you talk like this, like really weird like that. And I remember that was kind of blurred out, and I was like, yeah, this guy does. I literally remember looking at the doctor like, yeah, I'm going to talk again. Like I kind of had this thing like, wow, this guy's an idiot. I just flat out knew I was going to talk, and it wasn't determination, it wasn't motivation, it wasn't being inspirational. I just knew. I was like, yeah, well, I'll talk again. Like the thought of never talking again was just absurd. It was almost like he was lying to me. And now here's the thing. It just never took hold. What he said, it never became a belief of mine. I always knew, and I don't even see why I believed, because believing is almost like fighting against the opposite. Like, oh, it's not going to happen. Like, it wasn't even that. It was just like I knew I was going to talk. So he made an appointment with me. Oh, yeah, I think this was what we did the surgery. I woke up and he said some things, and then he made an appointment for me to come into his office. I think it was like a week later or 10 days, or I don't remember, something like that. And that's when he told me that. So what happened was, after he told me that, he said, look, I'm going to call the greatest specialist on the West Coast, the entire West Coast of the United States. This guy is the #1 guy. If anyone can do it, he can do it. I'm going to set up an appointment for you with him. And he goes, one thing, do not miss it. If you miss an appointment one time, he will never see you for the rest of your life. Now here's the deal. This doctor, surgeon, specialist, whatever he was this. Now this guy was a specialist himself. This is all he focused on. This was his hero. I believe it might have been his either professor, or maybe when he was actually learning how to do surgery, it was the doctor in there that taught him. Okay, it was one of his mentors, teachers, professors at one point in time. This guy worshipped this guy. So the problem is the appointment was out about 6 months. Okay, so what happened was I would talk to people like this, and I could barely talk. And it was even worse than that. It was really bad. But then what happened was they called me up about the 9th month to remind me, like, hey, just a reminder, in 10 days you have to be down. I think it was Santa Clara or San Jose. Might have been San Francisco. I forget what city. I had to be in some big city. And to make the appointment, they said, no matter what, do not miss it. And make sure you're there hours before, so you can't say you got a flat tire. Like, get there hours before, get there the day before, stay in a hotel, whatever you have to do, and walk there if you have to. Just make sure you're there. I was like, okay. So what happened was, I was talking to his secretary, kind of like this. And she goes, are you talking? And the doctor had overheard her say that. He goes, wait. And he took to me, Michael, are you talking? I said, no, not really. He goes, no. He goes, Michael, you're talking. And I'm like, no, not really. And he goes, no, Michael, this is like you're literally vocalizing with your vocal cords. This isn't your stomach. In fact, I never took any of those classes. And to me, he goes, no. He goes, I'm going to call him and tell him that we're going to wait longer. And he goes, Michael, I think it's coming back. He goes, you don't want to have surgery if it's coming back on its own. So I was like, whatever. I didn't care. It was the weirdest thing in the world. Because I think in the back of my mind, I always knew I was going to talk again. And I did talk again. I started talking normal, not quite as good as I am now, but it was like 80%. Now, I did go to, this is when I first started going to this energy healer. I had said, hey, can you work on my throat as well? Because we were working on anxiety and stuff. And we did quite a lot of sessions on that for a good year, 2 years. And it got to the point where there was like no pain, because there was pain every time I talked for years. We're talking 5 years later, maybe more. And that's completely gone. Now, here's the funny thing. Years and years later, even after the brain injury, I forget what exactly it was. I was talking to someone about it, and something came up. They're like, well, how did you fix that? I'm like, man, I never thought about it. I tell you what the number one thing was. I always knew I was going to be fine. I always knew I was going to talk 100%. Same thing with my brain injury. I always knew I was going to get back to working and doing this work. Remember how earlier on in this video where I said this video is going to come together at the end? Everything I just said for the last 10-15 minutes was not even a part of the show. And neither is the next part. So one thing we learned in Hawaii, again, this was a few years before my throat accident, and definitely years before my brain injury. One thing we learned, and I've also seen this on YouTube just recently, about a year or two ago, is one thing they said, look, every cell in your skin, your entire skin that goes throughout your whole body, every layer of cell, every cell of your skin, I'm not even saying that right, it gets replaced every, I think it was 15 days or 7 days, or I forget the exact amount. But I was like, really? And now we're talking Western science. I'm not talking metaphysics. I'm not talking spiritual. I'm not talking energy healing. I'm just talking you slough off your skin. Your skin sloughs off constantly. And every cell, here's the right way to say it. Every cell is replaced. Every single cell from top to bottom is replaced throughout your whole body. Approximately, I think it's every 15 days. It might be a little bit more, but the point is like it's completely replaced. And then I was thinking, like, well, then how do you have scars past 15 or 30 days? And the trainer even said that, the injuries you get, they should be completely healed up. You should not have any scars. They even went on to say that even the layer of fat beneath the skin is replaced every so many days. And then they're saying every cell in each of your organs is replaced. I think it was 60 days or 45 days or 90 days. And they're like, your skin is not the skin you had 15, 20, 30 days ago. Your organ is not the same organ. It is completely replaced. So every cell is replaced. And now your bones, and I thought, oh, well, this is going to be different. It is, but not really. And it was something like every 90 days or 60 days. It was a little bit longer than soft tissue, but it was a little bit longer. So every square inch, every square centimeter, every square millimeter of your entire body is replaced, every 90 plus days. Your skin's 15 plus days and your organs are so many days. And I'm thinking, Well, then why is it when you get a bone break, it has a little bit of a thicker, extra kind of thing there? And why does this? And that was what he was saying. He goes, we shouldn't have scars. When we heal up, it should heal up perfectly. Your brain has a perfect blueprint to heal and replace every cell in your entire body. Now, here's the funny thing. Before that, I had scars from injuries and scratches and stuff from earlier in my life. After that, when I got run over by the car, I had these huge scars on my left arm, my left wrist, my left forearm, and on my legs. They're completely gone. They told me that you're going to have scars for life there. I was also told that on the left corner of my head, there's a big chunk of skin peeled off there, like you're going to have a bald spot there for the rest of your life. It's completely healed. I've got hair growing out perfectly the way it was originally. Wow, this video is really taking a wonderful turn. Everything that I'm giving you right now is not part of the show. So, when it came to my brain injury and my throat injury, as I look back, I remember what it was. When I went to my doctor 9 months after, the accident, I said, hey, there's something wrong. I'm not talking normal. Something. I wasn't talking like this. I was slurring my words, and the words were coming out wrong. And I even told him, I said, I told my goddaughter that I'm going to see my God. And she's like, your God? What are you talking about? I was like, well, I got my God appointment. And she's like, what? And she goes, you mean your doctor? And he laughed. He goes, well, I like being called God. I mean, that's, he kind of laughed. But he did sit me down. He goes, Michael, he goes, you have to understand, this is not a concussion. You have a brain injury. You tore because they called it TBI, traumatic brain injury, which I didn't know what the hell that freaking meant. I just thought it meant like you got hit in the head real hard. And they said, no, it means you tore your brain. He goes, you're never going to talk normal. You're never going to walk normal. He goes, you're going to be in pain for the rest of your life. He goes, you're not going to be able to work, etc. And I'm doing all of the stuff they said I'd never do. And I'm doing it very, very well. Now, here's the interesting thing. I had been studying right brain functioning for well over a decade at this point, much, much beyond that. And my whole work with my course, Cracked Female Code, was, well, how do we get men to open up to the right brain and to learn how to speak the internal right brain language so women can connect mentally and emotionally for meaningful communication. Here I was doing it, but then again, I'd been learning this stuff for years, but the average, and I noticed some guys had a lot harder time than me opening up because they were much more left brain, blah, blah, blah. So here I was learning that they're like, oh, some guys, it's really hard. And so I had to figure out, how do I get them over to the right brain? And this is the internal awareness techniques, essentially emotional grounding techniques that help men to open up to the right brain. And then out of the clear blue sky, literally a gift from God, I get ran over from a car from behind and I suffer a traumatic brain injury. Did that guy just say gift from God? What? So it forced me to use my right brain. I looked at everything in a radically now don't get me wrong, I'd been meditating for many, many years, which allowed me to open up to my right brain. I was very right brain functional, to an extreme degree. But it was really when I would meditate for hours, do internal awareness techniques, but this was 100% full-time right brain. Now, it was very fascinating, especially with my education and background in this and understanding all this and teaching this for over a decade. When I came across this video, because I was pretty bummed out. Okay, I was pretty sad. And I'm about to cry. Okay, let me get out of that. So that lady, Jill Bolt Taylor, when she did her TED Talk, so it's My Stroke of Insight. Go to YouTube, you can look it up. And her name is Jill Bolt Taylor. BOLTETAYLORE on TED Talks. When she said it was a gift, because she was explaining how she was this overly logical, left brain, scientific person, and by having this stroke, it forced her to do everything from her right brain. And then she's healed up, and she's talking about how it was such a gift and how she learned and all this insight. And I was like, wow, that's exactly what I'd been going through for probably 6 or 7 or 8 years at that time. It helped me to understand my own career on a level you can't even imagine. It was not only that, but it's like on a level that I never even imagined. I didn't even know that this existed. The things that I learned, the way I was talking to women, listening to women, watching their body, and I was like, wow, like it was a whole world opened up to me. So a lot of people ask me like, oh, so who did you learn this from? I learned it from me. What I teach in my course, Cracked Female Code, you will never find anywhere else. In fact, a lot of clients will say, hey, wait a minute, well, Tony doesn't teach this, and Dr. John Gray doesn't teach this. Like, what is this? Yeah, you won't find this in any other book, from any other coach, anyone. I had a marriage family counselor come to me from one of my ads, or actually from my videos on YouTube about this. And he said he'd been watching for a while. He flew out from the Midwest, I believe it was Kansas or somewhere around there. And he actually had his doctorate degree in psychology from Harvard. And after we finished the course, not even after, it's about the third day, he was like, where did you learn this? I've never seen any of this. He literally said, I thought I knew everything. Because Michael, because he was in his 50s, he goes, I have studied everyone, read every book I get my hands on. He goes, where did you learn this? So I explained my whole journey. Now this is going to take another twist, another 180-degree turn really soon. None of this was meant to be, and yet it was all meant to be. In fact, in other words, I didn't plan on this when I first started this video. I just had this idea, as I always do. All this came together perfectly. Now I have to say something. I looked at him. I was pretty cocky, and I said to him, what did I say? How did I say it? I said, now you realize why more than 50% of the people that work with you end up in divorce. And he looked at me and goes, it's a lot more than 50%. And he goes, how did you learn this? So I explained it, etc. But then I said, now do you realize why everything that you're teaching people is absolutely the wrong thing to teach them? He goes, I see it now. He goes, but for the life of me, I thought I was doing the right thing. It's literally textbook, the blind leading the blind. But they don't know. They don't know that they don't know. So now you might be wondering, so what's the secret? So I had some traumatic things, brain injuries to throat, like you're never going to talk again. And this was like a specialist telling me this. And I just remember, so we start learning about manifesting. You read the book, what's it called, The Secret, and you start learning all this stuff on a conscious level. And I look back, and I know exactly what it was. The reason why I healed and other people didn't is one very, very simple thing. I didn't know any better. And when the doctors told me, oh, you're never going to heal from this, it's going to be this way for the rest of your life, I just remember kind of like, what's the word, tuning them out. You know that Charlie Brown thing where it's like, wah, wah, wah. He's sitting in the back of the classroom and teachers mouth, the words getting blurred out. Literally, I remember just kind of like zoning out on the doctor and just thinking, yeah, I'll talk again. It was like he was speaking ridiculous talk. It was ridiculous. Now, I don't mean like I was motivated and I was going to prove him wrong. It was nothing like that at all. It was just like, yeah, well. I remember in my head thinking, yeah, well, I'll talk again. And I remember when the doctor told me for my brain injury, he goes, Michael, you're never going to talk normal again. He goes, you're never going to work again. You're never. And I remember pausing and I looked at him like, yeah, I will. Here is literally the secret. It's the image you hold in your mind. Period. Your unconscious mind is a servant. It will do whatever you tell it. And how do you tell it? By the images that you give it. I mean, it doesn't even know any better. It's just like, oh, okay, so you want this? Oh, okay, and it does it. Your spirit, your soul, your system, your nervous system, your unconscious mind, whatever the hell you want to call it, I don't care. It knows exactly how to put you back in place. It knows exactly how to fix you. It knows exactly, cell by cell, how to make you better. Simply put, it knows how to put you back together. That's it. All you have to do is hold the image in your mind. That's it. Honestly, it's literally like a painter when he's painting a woman's body, or just painting a person or a picture or a mountain. All you have to do is just have the image in front of him. And then he goes, okay, that's what you want, that's what I'm going to paint. And he does perfectly with absolute perfection and precision. The reason why I healed and some people don't is because they didn't have the picture of what they wanted. They had the picture of what someone told them. Oh, you're never going to heal. This is the way your life is for the rest of your life. My doctor literally said, he goes, you're going to have to just accept this. And I remember inside going, hell no. Here's a really important piece. It wasn't like I was holding on and praying to God in fact, I don't think I ever prayed to God once. I was just like, well, this is, no, I'm going to heal from this. I will speak again. And from the brain injury, yeah, I'll be normal again. I'll talk again. I'll be able to ride bikes and lift weights and do push-ups and talk normal and go back to work. And I did. It was just like, well, this is the way. I don't, I think I should just stop because it was just there. It was just an image. It was there. And I didn't even do anything. At that point, I was like, I will talk again, and that's it. And it's not even like I even said, man, I wish it was just an image. I will speak again, my brain will heal, and I'm going to go back to work. That's just the way it was. I didn't accept any other person's bullshit. I didn't accept any other one's beliefs. And again, it wasn't like I was fighting it. It was like someone said, hey, let me teach you something Tony Robbins style that you shouldn't know. I was like, no, I'll talk again. So here it is, Halloween. I think it was last Halloween. Might have been the Halloween before, but it was a while ago. And I'm talking to this mother and her daughter and one of their friends, and they're showing me the artwork, and they said, oh, what happened? I said, yeah, I suffered, what happened to you? And I explained to them, like, well, you seem to, yeah, I healed from it. I went to energy healing, and I did this, I did that. And I said, I have healed like 97% perfectly. And the mother shot up out of her chair, stepped towards me, and she took her hand, knife ridge style, and sliced it down like she's cutting my head in half. And she goes, you don't understand. She had a complete shear from left to right and separation and blah. She can't heal. And I was like, oh my God. And she was pissed. I immediately got up and walked out, and it was shocking. And I was like, why was she so, like, for the life of me, I couldn't understand why. And I wasn't trying to say you can heal too. I was just saying, because they asked me, like, wow, you seem to be doing really, really well. I was like, oh, I am doing really well. I'm back to work and I'm this and that. And her mother just shot up like, she can't heal. And it was like she didn't want her to heal. Now watch this. I don't believe her mother was a mean person or an evil person at all. The message that this daughter got was I'm sure it was from the doctors, because you got to understand, doctors are two-dimensional beings in a three-dimensional world. They're science is all two-dimensional, okay? The human body is it's really a three-dimensional being that expands out into the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh dimension. It's an energy being. You're not going to fix it by operating by doing two-dimensional techniques. Imagine the messages that this young lady got. You can't heal. You're never going to heal. Blah, blah, blah. And then you got this mother with such intense energy and emotion saying, you can't heal. And I was like, oh my God. So you're like, well, what would be her purpose for doing that? Well, I honestly believe she was trying to protect her daughter. And I don't mean for me. But it was kind of like, this is my daughter and I have to protect her. She's got to be protected. She has to have this. She has to have. It's just a mother caring for her daughter. Now, what image do you think this young lady had in her mind? That she was going to heal? Like, no problem? Like she, literally, it's like with me, it was like I just knew I was going to heal. It was like, yeah, I'm going to heal. No, she didn't have that. She had this beaten into her. And I don't mean this out of a bad intention. I think it was her mother just like, this is my daughter. Okay, a lot of people, men and women, it's really hard to let go of your children. It's just hard. Well, now she has a live-in roommate, someone who's there to protect her, to take care of her, to provide for her. That gives a little bit of comfort. And by the way, this person was a paid, they have to get a certain amount of education and health and this and this and that, and emergency this and that to take care of the person and to understand, because he had to give her medication. I think he had to give her shots once a day or once a week, or I forget what it was. But he was an educated person. He was paid to do this. This is what he did professionally. So here she is being taken care of by someone who's trained medically on some degree. And I'm sure to the mother that gave her a sense of comfort. So it really comes down to one thing. What's the image that you're holding in your mind? And that's it. There's a video and a study on this guy. See, everything that you think is true is not true at all. Like, this image is probably the most true everything in the world right there. You are not a brain, you're not a body, you're none of that. And here's what I mean. There was a guy that had lived his whole life. He was a professional. I forget what he did for a living, but he did this specialized work. He was intelligent. He did all this stuff. And I don't remember if he was in a car accident or if he died or whatever, but they did a brain x-ray. And in the center of his brain, it was like 95% or 93% empty. He had very, very little brain. Call it brain matter. And they were like, wait, how did this guy even drive a car? How did this guy go to work? How did this guy even talk? Your brain, your muscles, that's all bullshit. It's almost like, how do I explain this? It's almost like it's symbolic. It's almost like, God, how to explain this? Like, it's not real. Let's stick to the brain. That'll be simpler. Like, I've seen people who have had severe brain injuries and had parts of the brains cut out because of injuries, and they talk normal like anyone. They go to work, they do math, they do science, they socialize like it never happened. And yet if you go to college and learn about the brain, that they're going to tell you, like, this is the part of the brain that creates your speech, and this is where your speech part of your brain is, and this is your memory part, and this is this and that. And yet those are all gone. So how is this guy memorizing anything, and how is this guy knowing what your name is and that you guys have been friends since you were a kid and speaking perfectly, and yet those parts of his brain are gone? It's baffling. With a smart-ass tone. I mean, guys, there's too many real-life examples of real people with real studies, real videos, real TVs, been on TV shows. You are not your body. Your body is almost like, how do I explain it's almost like a puppet. It's almost like an excuse for you. It's almost like going up on stage in a high school play or Hollywood play, and action. It's like you're wearing a fake mustache, you're wearing a fake wig, you're wearing a fake jacket, and you're playing this role, and like, you don't need the jacket, you don't need the mustache, you don't need the wig. It's like, you just need you, the spirit, the soul, and you can talk and communicate to anyone at any time. I do not know how to explain that. It's like, your body is almost an excuse for you to believe that you exist. That's the best way I can explain it. Because everything that we're taught has been proven like that's not true at all. It's not even remotely close to being true. Okay, so I actually found a short on this, and here it is. The man with almost no brain, yet he lives normally. And then if you get closer, it says, he's missing 90% of his brain is gone. He went to elementary school, middle school, high school, passed his math, science, business classes, English, and the guy literally doesn't have a brain. The doctors are going to make up some bullshit. Well, you got to see, it was rewired neurologically, and they'll make up some bullshit. And instead of just saying, I don't know why you can. I'm telling you, you are not your body. The other thing I'm telling you, you can heal. The secret to any kind of manifestation is whatever the image is you're holding in your brain. Or wherever you hold it. We are living in a dimension that God created for us to manifest, to create, to just have, it's like being an artist. Just create music, create art, create a new building, create a new bridge, like, it doesn't matter. It's there is no right or wrong. I'm not saying that surgery is wrong. It's just like, okay, well, this is a creation that we're making. Let's see what we do with this creation. It's like creating a new car. Go out there and create your life. Do what you want to do. It's literally like art. You can paint anything. You can make it up. In fact, most artists do. It is make-believe, but it's bringing make-believe into this third-dimensional reality. And all you have to do is ask one question. What do I want? Then imagine having it. That's it. But I can't make much money by teaching you those 2 sentences, so I'm going to make a very complicated book and call it The Secret of Awesome Manifestation, and I'm going to give you 100 steps and charge you $35 for the book and then $350 for the 2-day seminar. Hint, hint, sarcasm. You probably got that unless unless you're a narcissist. They can't process sarcasm. That's a right brain function. But do you really have a right brain? We live in the stupidest reality. It's stupid, but yet it's really cool because it's stupid. It's like you can create anything. It's like nothing's... Okay, here it is. Nothing is real, yet everything you manifest becomes real. And nothing is true except for that which you make is true. In other words, we were never meant to limit each other by saying I'm right and you're wrong. See, what happens is people believe, well, you know, the way I'm living my life is right, and therefore I have to force you to believe that my way is the right way. This is what's wrong with the world, and this is it. Let other people be in their own zone, and you be in your zone. If those people come over to you and try to force, like, you have to believe that what I believe is right, and that my values are right, and see, that's where we're fucking up. You be in your own road, be in your own lane, be in your own space, and let me be in my own space. That's the way it was always meant to be. Okay, so let's just take what I said about surgeons, how they're two-dimensional beings functioning on a third-dimensional world, third-dimensional body. It's not right or wrong. It's just like, that's just one possibility. Not only, and that's even wrong saying it's one, it's like it's a possibility, not the only one. Meaning, it's a creation and these people are fascinated with it, and that's okay. We've got to stop thinking in terms of, well, I just don't believe in that and that's wrong. That's fine. Like me personally, I would rather do energy healing first to see what happens, okay, and do it for a length of time. Some people there are some people that want to be operated on, like, man, this is really cool. Let's do this. That's fine. The only belief that we teach in NLP and healing work is if it's an emergency, say you get in a car accident, you break your leg, you're bleeding out. Yes, go to the hospital. They are the experts. They are the professionals that focus on that. That's their specialty. If you're not on the verge of death and bleeding out, then yeah, try energy healing, see what happens, or try meditation, or try psychotherapy, whatever. So just as a disclaimer is, if you do get injured, hurt in an accident, break a bone, get cut really bad and you're bleeding really bad, go to the hospital, go to the emergency room. Years and years ago, what they told us, is Japan would come to America and study our medical doctors, because we have the greatest emergency room service in the world. So go to the experts, go to the people that focus on that and specialize in that for sure. Alright, that's it for this video. God bless you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new. I hope it expanded your mind and allows you to see things in at least a different light. And remember, you can heal, you can change, and you can manifest. If you enjoyed this video, and only if you enjoyed this video, please click subscribe, click the like button, go ahead and make a comment, and if you want, you can go ahead and make a donation. There's a PayPal link right there in the description box. God bless you guys. I'll see you soon. See you in the next video. Bye.